Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and boy do we have a lot to talk about today. So before we get started on the two big things that we want to talk about, let's go ahead and do some quick recap as well as some just general announcements that I have for y'all. So the first thing is this. It's throwing me off because ever since the anniversary, we have literally gotten like one notice per day. Like literally just look through the notices, there is one dated from every day since the 7th last week, and it's throwing me off because it's pretty much making me think like, what is the direction right now? Like, where are we going? What can we even predict at this point? Because they're just throwing things at us. Like, it started with that daily Lux challenge, which feels like kind of a weak response to the underwhelming, like, disappointment that was the anniversary. And then we got some avatar boards. We had the HD Gula EX, HD Ava EX banners, but those banners ended and we didn't get the Aset or the Envy banners or the Era banner. So it's like, are they even going to continue this foreteller streak? And then we also got the Terra one, the HD Terra EX banner, and it's like, at this point I'm wondering, are we going to get the Ventus EX banner? Are we going to get the Aqua EX banner? It's like, I'm very confused at what the current direction is of this game, because it really just feels like they've been pushing out content, which, don't get me wrong, it's great, it's fantastic that they kind of saw our response, and even though it was really, really bad, like, it was a lot of disappointment, it was a lot of meme making, they're trying, and they are trying to get stuff out to us, which is apparent by the fact that we've got all this stuff just coming out literally on the daily. So, you know, when you think about the anniversary and stuff, just know that they're trying, and we've gotten a lot of stuff in the past week, even though, like, some of it's just banner stuff, some of it's, like, the paying stuff, like, things you have to pay for with jewels. So just know that there is an attempt, and that slowly but progressively the community is becoming appreciative of it. So that's the first general announcement. The second one, and this one is kind of strange, but bear with me here. Alright, so I was watching some other Union Cross videos earlier, you know, just kind of seeing what people's thoughts were on stuff and, you know, things like that. And then I kind of wondered, like, where do I rank? You know, where do we, as our mini group right here, like, rank on, like, Union Cross stuff? Like, does our video show up? Like, do they show up in suggested stuff? So I just searched it up, just for ha-has, KHUX, Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and then if we scroll down just a little bit, like, there's our video, guys, like, right there, the 2nd anniversary challenge event, advanced difficulty quest, like, it shows up right there, and I was just, like, my mind was just blowing up. I was like, oh my gosh, we made it. Like, we didn't even have to scroll down much. Like, look at the scroll bar on the right, we didn't even have to go down that much. So, you know, I wanted to really just take this time really quickly to just, I'm going to switch the camera view back here. I just want to take the time to thank you guys so much, because it's really been like a fantastic journey doing this YouTubing thing, especially since, you know, I've got a lot of other stuff going on, like a lot of real life stuff going on. You know, there's like work, there's school, there's all the other things that I'm involved with. So it's really great knowing that this stuff is reaching somebody. Like, it is, I know there's a lot of my regulars who I super appreciate. It's super fun streaming with you guys. But it's just super great to know that it's reaching someone out there. So thank you so much, guys, for all the support, and I really hope we can continue making great videos together. Alright, so onto the bulky content of the video. I have to pull up my notes here because there's like a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about. So we're going to talk about the Key Art 16 EX metal deal first. Now, when I woke up, I was kind of like in a daze, you know, I was checking my stuff, I was like, whoa, why are my Facebook groups blowing up? And then I like all like dizzy-eyed and stuff, I open up my game, and then I see this. This was the first thing I saw, and then the first thing I saw right after that was, okay, my cursor isn't working, but it's the Riku Replica HD version is on here. So we got our copy medal, which is kind of funny because it was like one of my predictions we'd get a reverse copy medal, or I'm sorry, like a backwards copy medal. So it wasn't the tier 7 backwards copy medal I was expecting, but we got one. But anyways, more on that later. Let's go ahead, just analyze the banner really quickly. So, the latest Tier 8 metal, Key Art 16 EX Plus, arrives in this new EX metal deal. You can obviously get the trait metal from the pulls, which is going to be this gray version here. This is the artwork for it, which is super sweet. I actually got this artwork as a blanket for my brothers a few years back for Christmas. They were selling it, I believe, at is one of the stores at the mall. But yeah, I love this artwork. It's super sweet. It's got like a nice like symmetry-esque to it. I loved it. I still love it. It's one of my favorite artworks. Moving along, again, as an EX medal, we won't get it again until they announce it or until they give us like an EX medal deal like what we've been getting for the past few weeks. And here are the medals that it can come with. These are all new medals, like literally 100% never seen before in the global version medals. So there's obviously the Key Art 16 that we've been talking about. There's the HD Riku Replica, which is the one I am the most excited for because backwards copy medals are fantastic for a lot of good reasons, which we'll go over when we talk about HD Riku Replica. Then we have the HD Armor of Eraqus, or the Armor of the Master in the Japanese version. We got the Scar, the Yuna and Riku and Paine, and then HD Zack. They literally slapped a bunch of medals that were like, they're not getting outdated in the JP version. They're not like bad. But they just slammed them all in once into one banner. We've gotten this type of banner before where it felt like we were catching up super fast, and then for some reason they just slammed on the brakes. So we've gotten this type of banner before, and it was fantastic, and this is fantastic. So let's go ahead and keep moving on here. If you get any of the medals that aren't Key Art 16, they will either come 1, 2, or 3 dotted, which is super sweet because again, those are like Mickey and brooms, pretty much. And then, of course, you have a chance at the boosted stuff. And now we actually go into our medal analysis. Actually, before we go into the medal analysis, there is one more thing that I wanted to go over. Again, Key Art 16 doesn't come with any special attack dots. So that's important to know, because if you get it and you don't have any of the trait medals, you do have to slap on 6 Mickey and brooms in order to gilt that thing, which is when it will be the most useful to you. And then one other thing I wanted to talk about in regards to the banner before we talk about the medals is that when you go down pretty much all the way to the guaranteed, so you get at least one guaranteed premium medal, there's a pretty high chance it could actually be Key Art 16, which is kind of strange. But I'll appreciate it. You know, that is literally like a 6% chance of getting Key Art 16 right off the bat. That is the EX medal. And then you have all the other stuff, which is really good when you use it in the right context. And again, we'll talk about that as we're talking about the medal specifically, which we will actually do now. Okay, so let's pull up our better images here and talk about the medals in order that they show up on the announcement, starting with Key Art 16. Okay, so this is Key Art 16 EX Plus. It is going to be an upright speed medal, 9 hits, 1 turn, decreases the target's upright defense by 2, and decreases the speed defense by 7, inflicts more damage the higher your HP, and it has a max multiplier of 15, which is good. It has a good gauge cost of 4, which is like not too high, but it's like a solidly high level, and it hits all targets. Now, what do I think about this? I think this is good. I definitely think is a fantastic medal, but when it comes to comparing it to the other 2 versions, the Upright Red and then the Upright Blue version, which are the HD Cloud EX Plus, and then the, I'm blanking, the Illustrated Riku EX, when we compare it to those 2, I think this is a solid second place for me, falling behind the Illustrated Riku EX medal. Now, why do I think the Illustrated Riku EX is better? Is because while this is fantastic on Fairy Stars, while it would make a fantastic addition being on that last slot, because it'll be able to have the same multiplier if you have to copy it with things like HD Shion, and then with a backwards copy medal, it'll have the same multiplier, which was the big problem with HD Final Form Sora. The reason I think that the Riku medal is better is because the Riku medal goes earlier on. So in more meta setups, the Riku goes earlier on, even though it's got 30% less gilt. When we look at our Keyblade setups and think about where we would put these medals, because that's really important. You know, you could say how great a medal is, but if it doesn't have a spot on the Keyblade, then it's kind of just like you're using it for utility and you're not getting the most amount of damage out of it. So let's just look at our Fairy Stars, just for example. So let's go ahead and clear this. This is for a different setup altogether. So when we think about this setup here, and the Fairy Stars, which is definitely one of the 2 best Keyblades out right now. You think about putting Key Art 16 right here on the final slot, where you'll copy it with like an HD Shion here, and then a backwards copy metal here. But at that point, what goes here? You know, you gotta answer that question, what goes here? For some people, it's gonna be a backwards copy metal, copying something like Illustrated Kyrie EX, or it could be a 358 over 2 days Black Code Rikku. But in my opinion, if a lot of people have copy metals with extra attack, and I don't mean like everyone, I definitely don't mean everyone, but with the top drawer deal, being able to pull those nominees and being able to roll traits on the nominees, more people have added extra attack on a copy metal than ever before. So a lot of people have that, and then for them, this slot would be better off as that Illustrated Rikku EX rather than something else, and then they're getting these downstream metals here are going to benefit from that -2 upright defense. I'm sorry, -2 upright defense. It was kind of strange saying that because it was like -2, but upright sounds like plus. But anyways, I think that the Rikku is just slightly better because it fits better in this slot. And then that's only to say just for the Fairy Stars. When it comes to the other meta Keyblade, in my opinion, the Counterpoint, where Diamond Dust is actually catching up really quickly. So Counterpoint, as definitely the 2nd best Keyblade in my opinion right now, you know, it has a place for Illustrated Rikku EX. So pretty much any of those upright slots, those upright blue slots, it has a place for Rikku EX. So one of the reasons, or pretty much the main reason, that I think Rikku EX is better than the Key Art 16 is just because it fits better. Like, it just fits better in the blades, and then you get more damage out of it. But I'm definitely down for opinion. Again, I definitely see the side that says you put, like, HC Aqua EX in that 3rd slot of Fairy Stars, and then you proceed to go in with the Key Art 16, which is also, like, a valid setup for sure. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it. I think Key Art 16 is a fantastic metal. I definitely think it has a place for a lot of people, especially since some people will just be pulling from this banner in general to get the other metals because they're also fantastic. So to get Key Art 16 kind of feels like an additional plus rather than the reason you pull from this banner. And not only that, this one is actually guaranteed in 5 pulls. So that's fantastic. Like, that is amazing that you can get an upright defense down within 5 turns. Like, if I remember correctly, Cloud EX Plus, like, there was no guarantee, and then Illustrated Rikku, you had to pull 20 times. It was like a falling price banner, sure, but, like, pulling 20 times, that's a lot of jewels. So this is definitely really good to get this early on, especially for free-to-play players. You know, that means there's less jewels you have to spend to get that upright defense down, which is super important because the higher level enemies require you to nerf their defense before you can even do any damage to them. So that is fantastic. So that's definitely, it's a great metal. Don't get me wrong. I know I made it sound like I was criticizing it, but it is a fantastic metal. All right, moving on to the other ones, which definitely, I feel like everything here really deserves, like, a good talking about. Do we have it? Do we have it? No, we don't. I forgot to download a picture of the HD Riku Replica, but we'll talk about it here, and there's really not much to say about this metal other than it is amazing. This is the metal that I will be pulling for from this banner because it is a backwards copy metal, and that is fantastic. And then it is also reverse red, meaning that you could put it on your Fairy Stars and proceed to make a mono-colored Keyblade. You can make a mono blue Keyblade at that point, or pretty much like a mono anything Keyblade if you've got Key Art, I believe it's Key Art 13 or HD King Mickey EX, because those do like critical damage, those hit for weakness. So if you have those, you pretty much can make almost any mono-colored Keyblade with the right amount of copy metals. So let's go ahead to our Fairy Stars and let me show you what I'm talking about. So you pretty much get to put your buffers here. So these are going to be buffers. This can also be a buffer if you needed to. And then you put the Rikku here. So it'll copy this guy. So for example, let's pull up one of my setups right now. Let's go ahead and switch to key art 13 so you guys can get what I mean when I talk about a monocolored keyblade. Key art 13. Where are you, Sora, wearing Roxas's clothes? Okay. So this was sort of the previous setup for monocolor blade, but that pretty much limited, like a mono speed blade specifically. So you were kind of limited to making a monocolored speed blade with this, because then what you would do is you do sort of something like this, where you don't really care about the buffers. The buffers are there to strengthen you up, but at this point, past the key art 13, everything is pretty much hitting for weakness, especially if you use the speed setup. With the HD Riku Replica, you can now copy anything in this slot. You can copy any blue metal, essentially. Like, let's do Aqua. So let's put Aqua there, and then what you would do is that you put the HD Riku Replica here, and then you follow it up with the Copycat Speed Metal up here. So at that point, you can do whatever you want, because like, you can make a mono blue right here, and that would be super sweet. So now we have not just powerful mono green, but now we have powerful mono blue via the copycat metals and through the new HD, well, it is a copycat metal, but with the new HD Riku Replica, because it backwards copies and it is one of the few that matches with our slots on Fairy Stars, it's going to be great. And not only that, the replica will also work here. So the HD Riku Replica works in the pet slot as an indiscriminate times whatever multiplier you have on your pet, copying the last thing. So let's say we wanted to do something like this. And then where's our Xion? So let's get the HD Xion in there. Okay. So before the setup, when you wanted to do something like that, would have to be something like this, where you have one of those tier 5 backwards copy key arts in order to get that mono, setup going on. Or I'm sorry, not a mono setup, but like copying that last powerful metal 3 times in a row. It was a very popular setup when you're using something like HD Final Form Sora. Right now, it's a popular setup for me because I use this, the Ventus EX. If I can get it, where are you? Okay. So it's popular when I'm using something like this, and then to have that last slot be HD Riku Replica, which is a tier 8, meaning it's getting 230% guilt, copying that Ventus, and not only that, it'll gain the 30 from the Ventus, making it 260% guilt. That is a lot of damage. That is cranking out so much, and it is going to help for a lot, especially since there are a lot of challenges where you actually can't use friend metals. So that used to hurt some people really badly, is because they wouldn't be able to use forward copy metals to copy defense buffers and stuff like that. But now you can backwards copy with something that also hurts. So that is just fantastic. Like, that is the metal I will be pulling for. And yeah, there's not much to say about copy metals. They're just fantastic. They are always good 100% of the time. Even tier 5 copy metals are still pretty meta. Like, you still see them a lot. And HD Nominee was the first one, a tier 5 forward copy metal. You still see her on like Divine Rose setups. And she came out like, my gosh, I think it was like a solid, almost a year ago. Almost a full year ago, HD Nominee came out. And people are still using her. 0.2 Kairi came out like almost roughly a year ago, and people are no longer using her. So copy metals, just really invest into them because they never ever go out of style. Moving on, so we don't have to talk as much about the other ones here because 2 of these are pretty much clones of each other. So the Armor of the Master, or the HD, what's it called? The HD Armor of Eraqus, and then the Yuna and Paine and Rikku metal. Those are essentially like clones of each other, so I will pull up both of those images right now, and then we could just look at them side by side. So there is our YRP trio, and then if we can get this image up here. Where are you? Okay, perfect. Here you are. So these two are essentially clones of each other. They pretty much do roughly the same thing, with the main difference being that one is upright green and the other is upright blue. Obviously, the HD armor of Eraqus is slightly better because it fits onto the fairy stars, but you know, going to the Yuna and Riku and Paine, it does increase upright strength by 1, meaning that if you have a copycat medal that's copying Illustrated Kairi EX, you throw the Yuna and Riku and Paine in the 3rd slot of Fairy Stars or in the 3rd slot of Counterpoint, and then you have a perfect +7 upright strength, leaving the rest of your Keyblade to do things like minus upright defense. So these two are really good medals. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to say where their place is in the game, just because number one, they have a high gauge cost, so even if you are using them for raiding, you have to make sure you're restoring the appropriate amount of gauges, especially if you don't have Illustrated Kairi EX or Illustrated Shion EX, and if you're unable to copy them too, it could put a little bit of a strain. And not only that, both of these medals have the inflict more damage the more Lux collected in that stage, meaning that you start off with them being pretty weak, and then as the stage goes on, they get better. So obviously this is more tailored for things like raid bosses, but that is definitely one of the worst damage modifiers, because it essentially counts on you having a long fight, and you don't want to have a long fight sometimes. Like, you want to be able to take care of things quickly. So to be able to start at that 2.59, even when you multiply it like ×3 because of the guilt, it's still not pushing out as much as I would like to see. But they are still really good. They are fantastic raid medals, and they do increase your upright strength. So for people that are, again, free to play, you don't have a lot of upright strength going for you, pulling into this banner essentially gets you something that will increase your upright strength, if not your upright reverse strength. Like, this is a banner pretty much that guarantees that free-to-play players are able to enter like the upright meta or the reverse meta. So this is that final guarantee. Pull from this banner and you will definitely get something that can accelerate your game based on, you know, where you are in this game. So they're not super good medals, but again, they do have their place in certain setups. Let's see here. The last one we have to talk about is HD Zack, and then, see, this video is already like 23 minutes, and it's like, whew, that is a long time for a video. Okay, so HD Zack, what are my thoughts on him? So first of all, the first thing you notice, he's upright green, meaning that Fairy Stars always has a place for upright green with that ×3.3 multiplier. That thing is seriously nuts. It feels like the only Keyblade that's starting to be worth keeping is Fairy Stars at this point. But anyways, going on to the medal itself, it deals 13 hits, and for 1 turn increases upright strength by 1, speed strength by 4, and then decreases target's upright defense by 1, as well as the general defense by 1. It inflicts more damage the higher the slot number, going back to the Fairy Stars, because you'd obviously put this thing on like slot number 5, pretty much. Yeah, this is a solid medal. I'm starting to like run out of words. I feel like I've used a lot of words in this video. So it's a solid medal because it definitely increases the upright strength by 1, closing that like, if you copy Illustrated Kairi EX, you're short 1 upright strength. This can definitely close that. So that's really good that you have another means of closing the gap. And then it also decreases target's upright defense as well. So this is an overall solid medal because it is a medal that not only buffs you, but debuffs the opponent, and it hits everything. So it's going to decrease that upright defense by 1 for everything. When people use this medal, they're likely to use it paired with like other copycat medals. So some people that aren't going to get the HD Riku Replica, you'll be able to go HD Shion into HD Zack, followed by like a backwards copy key art, and that's already -3. That's -3 upright defense. So this is a solid medal. I definitely, obviously it's not as good as like the key art 16, and as like with other things where it gives -2 upright defense on the enemy, but it is still a really good medal. So that is all the medals in this banner. Again, they're all really good. In the right context, they're all fantastic. I didn't go over the Scar. I skipped the Scar. Let's not skip the Scar, because he is from one of the best Disney movies of all time, The Lion King. Okay, so Scar. What to say about this guy other than this thing is a freaking monster. It is reverse red, which is currently, it's hard to say whether it's reverse blue or reverse red, but those two sets of reverse medals are super powerful. And now with Scar, which is a random target medal that has a max multiplier of 21.9, this thing is going to be amazing. You put this thing on your fairy stars, and then you're good to go, because you just copy it like 3 times, and then you could go like a 4th time if you have 2 Scars. Like, that would be crazy. But yeah, to have this thing hit at a 21.9 multiplier is insane. So let me just give you a context in which I think this medal would be absolutely ridiculous. So let's go to our fairy stars, and let's create just a really quick setup in which we can use this Scar medal. So let's say, just for, just in theory, that you had 2 Scar medals. So what you can do is that you can do something like this, where you use the Kingdom Hearts 2 Nominee, you copy Scar, and then you use the HC Antiform Sora, and then you copy Scar again. So you're effectively using a times 21 multiplier 4 times, and that is crazy. When you go into raid bosses, if you're able to proc that 4 times, that is gonna be absurd. That raid boss is going down. The trade-off is that it does cost 7 gauges, but when you pair it with copy medals, and then if you put like attack boost 5 max, SP gauge 0, pretty much you're just gaining gauges at that point, because the copycat medals cost pretty much nothing, minus the backwards copycat ones. So you're going to gain gauges there, and then you're going to gain gauges when you use the Scar. So it's just really good. It's like a really solid setup to have that 21.9 multiplier just going off for you as frequently as you want. There's no sort of modifier saying you have to have high HP. The more slots, or the further down slots it is, or the more gauges that are used. So this thing is honestly really, really good. It definitely adds a solid reverse red medal to take care of raids, because in my opinion, reverse red didn't really have a lot of good raiding medals, because it just lacked the firepower. It lacked the ability to do like single target damage. But now this kind of clears that up, because when you think about this medal, when you get rid of the limbs of the raid boss, it has to eat all 21.9 multiplier of this medal. So that is just, it's really high. That's a ridiculous amount of damage that you'd be able to do on a raid boss. Alright, so that is my sort of semi-quick, there was a lot of stuff to go through. That was my analysis of that banner. It is a fantastic banner. But we're not even done. It doesn't stop there. So now we have this 13 falling price deal, and to be honest, I want to separate this here just because, like, that was a lot to digest. That was a lot of content that I went through, and that was like 6 different medal analyses that I had to do for that one banner. The one for the Vexen will be, you know what, there isn't too much to talk about the Vexen one, so we'll just do it all at once. And I apologize for the super long video, but I will try to make some links below so that you guys can follow along with what's going on. Okay, so going into this 13 falling price deal, this thing is crazy, and in my notes I wrote it as the falling price broken banner returns. They did another one like this before, and let me pull that up. And pardon the bad quality, I couldn't find the banner. So this is what it looked like, / it was a little bit better. But pretty much you get 2 premiums, which is super good, and it's also falling price. So this was a fantastic banner, and this format of a banner where you get 2 premiums that are like meta tier is just super good, because you just get more for the amount of jewels you're paying for. You know, you get things to guild faster, you get more premiums, and not only that, but there's also the chance for the Vexen itself, which is currently probably the best defensive medal, because it adds a new defensive mechanic to the game. Alright, so let's go ahead, hit up the details, and then just go through my thoughts on this banner. So first of all, you get it in 5 draws. Like, I don't know what, like, enticed them to do this 5 draw thing every single time, but I love it. I think it is fantastic. I don't like the name of this medal because it's kind of strange, like Vexen Plus. I don't know. I wish they could have given it a better name. But when you get this medal in the draws, you get them pre-strengthened to 5 special attack dots. So unlike Key Art 16, where you'd have to use a bunch of Mickey and brooms, you get this thing automatically to 5. So that's just really good, automatically. The next thing is that you can also pull the trait medal from this banner, and not only that, but you can get more copies of the trait medal from the event, from the new Organization 13 event that they just gave out for Vexen this month. So that is just a lot of opportunities to get traits on this guy, and that is a lot of opportunities to, like, guilt without using Mickey and brooms, which is super great. It is super convenient for people to not need to use so many Mickey and brooms. Like I said earlier, it's part of what makes it part of the broken banner format is that it has a falling price attached to it. So not only are you getting 2 premiums per pull, it's got falling price attached to it. Like, that is easily the best combination of stuff to make people get the most for their money. The only thing you can make it even better with is if you tighten the pull, so that pool, P-O-O-L, so that it only includes, like, broken medals. Like, if you paired this banner with the medals in this banner, that would be the most busted banner that we have gotten to date. So it is definitely the broken banner format, in my opinion. Moving along, you get the trait when you use the trait medal, obviously. Falling price, we went over that. There's a chance that it boosted, and let's see here. Okay, so before we talk about the medal, there's one other thing that I want to mention. We've seen all these medals before, so hopefully you guys kind of know what's going on with these medals at this point. HD Larkseen, great damage medal, but kind of falling out of date since it pretty much only works on itself, and it has one of the bad multiplier requirements where you have to use more SP gauges. HD Zexion becoming more and more relevant every day because the game is requiring us to turtle up, to armor up, rather than just bust our way through things now. So I think that's like the game's response to the fact that like Warrior of Light and FFRK Terra just broke the like brute strength meta, so that it's only those top people that got those medals that are able to brute strength things. So I believe they're going to like a more defensive tone with the game. So HD Zexion definitely rising in usefulness. 358 over 2 days Black Coat Rikku, always good for that 3rd slot of Fairy Stars. It has a times like 13, 14 multiplier on the 3rd slot, which is perfect because you follow it up after, again, either using Kyrie EX and copying her, or dual copying her, and then the 358 over 2 days Black Coat Rikku closes that missing upright strength, getting you to that perfect +7 upright strength. So he's always good. HD Kingdom Hearts 2 Leon is alright. I have him. I personally haven't found too much of a use for him because I've had better things to put on that 6th slot. But if you're going for pretty much like an all enemy, I guess, an all enemy Keyblade, then he's definitely a solid choice to put on the 6th slot. You can put him on the pet slot, which is where he belongs, and then no matter what Keyblade you're using, you're getting the maximum value out of that pet's multiplier because it doesn't discriminate based on upright or based on attribute. So the HD Kingdom Hearts 2 Leon, solid choice, haven't really used him much yet. For the World Ends With You Art 2, it is going to be pretty much just the clone like Yuna, Riku, and Paine, and then HD Armor of Eraqus. So we talked about those medals already, and then this is the upright power version of that. So not much to talk about those medals. One other thing before we talk about Vexen Plus is this. So our pull rate is actually slightly higher to get an additional premium. So that's really cool. I mean, I will never argue against having a better chance at getting more premiums, especially for collection purposes. And then when we move down to our draw odds for our guaranteed stuff, unfortunately, Vexen Plus not as high as Key Art 16, which is a little disappointing, but I mean, for what it's worth, it is a falling price banner. You get 2 premiums per pull, and you get the Vexen Plus guaranteed within 5 draws, and he's pre-strengthened to 5 special attack dots. Like, there's very little that you can argue that makes this banner bad. I just think it's really, really good. So let's move on to I keep calling him HD Vexen. Let's move on to Vexen Plus really quickly before we do some pulls, because there is no way I can't not pull for this. Like, these banners are just too good. Okay, so Vexen Plus deals 4 hits for 2 turns. It raises reverse strength and defense by 1, and then it will raise your speed and magic defense by 3. Kind of similar, it's kind of a shout out to the Vexen medal that we got, Vexen B, that we got from the Organization 13 events, where it raised your speed and magic defense. But anyways, moving along, Vexen Plus's ability decreases the target strength by 2 and increases the more damage the more turns that have passed. HP recovery level 2. So it costs 2 gauges and has a maximum multiplier of 12.94 after a certain number of turns have passed. This medal is, in my opinion, the new defensive meta. And the reason I say that, and the reason that I think he's actually a little bit better than HD Zexion, and I mean ever so slightly, I do need to compare the two a little bit more closely, is because the only way you can get rid of upright defense as of right now is by getting hit with Dispel or casting Asuna on yourself. But there is no other way to get rid of upright defense, and that is one of the problems that you run into with the new Vexen quest, is that he will hit you with -5 general defense and -5 PSM defense. Now, I know there is the argument that in Quest 12 and 13, he just blatantly casts Dispel on you, so you can't tank your way through those. Sort of. I have to test it myself. I haven't gotten that far, because I haven't pulled for the medal yet. But yeah, this thing, in my opinion, is the new defensive meta. Alongside HD Zexion, if you're able to have both of them, then you're pretty much set for any defensive fight that we have to do. And then if you have Hainer, Pence, and Alette from back in the day, there's just pretty much, you've got the best defense you possibly can. With the only other things making it better are things like having Chicken Little, which was VIP only. So yeah, this is definitely part of the new defensive meta. We are starting to get into the point where we can raise reverse defense, meaning that somewhere down the line, we're going to get something that raises upright defense, which is kind of strange. I really don't know what that means for us, because I don't know how to classify enemies based on like upright or reverse. So that's, I'm kind of waiting to see when we get an upright defense that I could do some testing on it and see how that works out. But yeah, new defensive meta, it is fantastic. If you're able to copy this thing 3 times, it means, or I'm sorry, copy it twice plus itself, that means you're going to get maximum reverse defense by the 3rd turn, right? Because you do 1 copy, Vexen again, and then you do another set. Oh, I'm sorry, that puts you at 6, plus 6 reverse defense, but that's still really good. I think that's fantastic, and it also heals you. Like, what more can you ask from a defensive medal than it increases your defense and heals you? Like, that's just really good. So, needless to say, if there's a high score challenge coming up, we definitely have an adequate amount of medals for them to put into the polls, or for them to put into the percentages. So hopefully we get some good stuff there. With the new high score challenge, based on like how the Coliseum is mainly mono single target blue, and how they're really busting out a lot of blue enemies, I really think the next one has to be that Judy and Nick, and it is going to cause another Keyblade War, because it is probably going to be a high score challenge, meaning that not everyone's going to get it, which is sad. I hope they can update that. But yeah, there's just a lot of medals. Hopefully they use pretty much anything here. The HT Larxene, the HT Zexion, the 358/2 Rikku. I hope they use pretty much the guaranteed medals, because that way everyone gets a solid chance at reaching the minimum amount of score necessary to at least get the 2 copies of Judy and Nick. Judy and Nick B. So I hope that's what this is signaling. That would be a fantastic addition to our anniversary, that everyone gets a super powerful medal that they can put on the Fairy Stars, which is definitely the most powerful Keyblade right now. So I hope that's what it's signaling. If a representative from Square Enix is watching this, please make sure that the score is just at that cusp where people can pull just on these banners and have enough to get a medal like that, because a medal like that is the broken brute force meta. And if it wasn't apparent by the March Moon Gem, like, hopefully everyone understands that it's necessary almost for people to have at least 1 copy of that medal. Alright, that is my analysis. It is super long. There was a lot of stuff I talked about there, a lot of like theory, things like that. So if you guys are still here at 41 minutes, like, first of all, clap for you for sure. That is not an easy feat to do. So thank you guys again so much. Going back to the first part of the video where we made that front of the YouTube page kind of thing. Thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. And what better way to show my appreciation for you guys than to do a poll. So we will do 2 polls, one on the EX medal deal and one on the 13 falling price medal deal. Let's do the falling price deal first, because we will at least, like, we're gonna get a new medal with the EX medal deal. So we will do the 13 falling price deal first. What do we want in order? Obviously, we want the Vexen first. I could really go for that World Ends With You art too, because the art just looks amazing. I love it. And then the 358/2 days Rikku, followed by, I have an HT Zexion already that's pretty solidly, maybe if I get extra attack on it, sure. But I could really go for a new Kingdom Hearts 2 HT Leon, then the Zexion, then the Larxene. So let's see what we could do. Let's see if on this Friday the 13th we can pull off a miracle, getting that Zexion Plus. So we are going to do the thing where we cross our fingers, close our eyes, and hope one of those 2 premiums is the Vexen Plus. Whew, alright, here we go. So I see the light, it's going off, and then I think the medals are showing up right now. We got... Okay, so this is not what we wanted, but the fact that we got 3 is awesome. So we got the HT Zexion, we have an HT Larxene, and then we have another HT Larxene. So not the medals we wanted. It was ironically the bottom 2 of the ones that we said, but I will appreciate the extra premium and the trading that we can get from this. And we get some magic mirrors, which is super sweet. Alright, so from the EX medal deal, what do we want? Obviously, we want the Key Art 16, but number 1, first and foremost, we want that HT Riku Replica. So that is number 1, followed by Key Art 16, and then we want the Scar, and then I would argue we want the Zack after that, then the Yuna Riku Paine, and then the Armor of the Master. I can't be unhappy with any of them, so let's see what we get. I'm kind of hoping we don't get the trait medal, because trait medals are useless until you get the actual medal itself. So here we go, 1 pull. Let's see what we can do here. Ooh, I'm getting antsy. I hope that we get it. I hope we get the backwards copy medal right off the bat. Okay, come on. Give me something good. Give me something good, game. All right, here we go. I'm about to open my eyes, and we got... Yeah, so we did it. We got the HT Riku Replica. Now, how many dots did we get? We got 1 dot. We got the lowest amount, but that's okay, because now I am less enticed to pull from this banner, because we needed this. This is going to be meta. I can't argue with having this. And then we got a Key Art 6, which is super sweet. So we got 2 premiums in this pull, which is super awesome. But we got the Riku Replica, which is fantastic. And then we got more magic mirrors. This is just, this is a great time to pull right now. So with that being said, that is 1 pull per banner. I will do more pulls later because I'll probably have to mercy these. One thing I want to say before we close out this video is that this is why I wait until the very last day before I pull from a banner. Because during the anniversary, I made an agreement with a friend to pull from the Vanitas EX Plus banner. But then I waited because I always wait until the very last minute before I do all my pulls. And obviously that paid off because not doing these 4 pulls on the HD Vanitas EX Plus is actually enough for me to mercy that Vexen Plus. So just keep that in mind for when you pull. You know, you always have until that very last day before you actually do all your pulls. With that being said, anyone who's still watching, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It is great making videos with everyone. Hopefully I can catch all you guys the next time I'm able to stream, but I've got a busy 2 weeks ahead of me, so it won't be for a while. With that being said, this video is done. Any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to throw them in the comments below, and I will try my best to answer them. As always, everyone, it is the weekend. Happy Friday the 13th, and until next time, take it easy.